Hello, pod pickers. This is Adrian Lacey, and if you heard an advert just before the start of the podcast, that would explain why I'm in Barbados, living off the fat of the land, and Shane's in the Seychelles, and you can't see that on the seashore very easily. No, actually, I'm in the deep south of England. That is in Kent. Shane is in the Midlands. He's actually well. I was going to get onto that. You're in a maternity unit at the moment, aren't you, effectively?
Yeah, we're just like babies everywhere at the moment.
To a penny with you, isn't it?
Oh, tell you, what? That's it now, though. That is, we've...
Yeah, you said that last time.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. This is definitely it. This. I was talking to my postman the other day, Simon, and he said, is that it now? He said, are you having any more? And I said, no, that's it. We're stopping at 2 now. And he said, you want to get yourself off to Mr. Snippy? I'm like, what?
Mr. Snippy.
Seriously, there's a vasectomy clinic. Oh no, sorry, Easy Snip. It's called
Easy Snip.
There's a vasectomy clinic called Easy Snip.
No way.
Yeah, no frills. And and he's that's where I had mine. I went, okay.
Well, otherwise, if you go for the NHS, apparently it's a waiting list of 9 months. Oh, no, that's a different joke.
Really
no. Anyway, so here we are, the Comedy Slab. And for new listeners, well, I should explain you're on to child number 2 now, as of just over a week ago.
Just a week and a day, yeah.
Yeah, she's at the age, bless her, Annie, where you're counting the days. And then brother Frank is, what, 16 months now?
He's a Franciscan monk, Brother Frank.
Holy Brother Frank, as I call him.
Decided to join the order early on. Get in there.
Sadly, it's not a silent order, though, is it?
God,
you wish it was.
We were talking about that the other day. About he's 17, 18 months. And we were saying about, you worry as a parent about vocabulary and speech and, are they speaking enough, are they saying enough words and all that sort of stuff. And somebody who's got older kids said to us, listen, believe me, once you wish that they were talking, once they do, you'll wish that they weren't.
I've got another good quote, but this one's really depressing. And this is to fast forward, say about 20 years from now. It was an author speaking on the radio, the writer of Apple Tree Yard, which I saw a TV version of. I don't know if you caught that.
No, I didn't see that.
It's a bonk buster type thing. Anyway, she was talking about her children who are now grown-ups. And she said, when they're young, you worry about, are they going to run into the road in front of a bus? When they're older, in their 20s plus, you still worry, but you haven't got any control over them. You can stop the child running into the road. You just cling on to it. But you can't stop them manufacturing their own, as it were, metaphorical car crashes. So, so she said it's all responsibility without power. And the other quote, actually, yes, I've already drifted off. It's one of those long days again. The quote was, "You're only as happy as your least happy child."
Oh, that's
think about that.
Yeah, we've got all this to look forward to, haven't we?
You have.
We're at the stage where there's like ultimate dependency, but and the kids are as bad as well.
I was going to say it's you on your wife Angelina, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, so the long way of saying this is what we're doing the long way around. Is apologies for not having a podcast last week. It was entirely my fault. It was my daughter was 24 hours old, and my wife had. I was going to say it hadn't been the best of times for her, but I mean, childbirth is like that, isn't it, for a woman? I don't think you come out and go, "Oh, that was great. Let's do that again pretty soon."
Although, strangely enough, mothers tend to more often than not.
There is. Isn't there something that says that the body blocks out the memory of the pain?
Because, that is, I don't know if it's urban myth or biological myth, but I've certainly heard that. Yes, as a non-parent, I'm at a very safe distance from all these things. But
I think the other thing as well that we've learned after 2 pregnancies now is that the last couple of weeks are so frustrating and uncomfortable for a mother that you kind of think, oh, anything, however bad childbirth is, anything's got to be better than this. I've got to end this kind of thing. And I think that's part of it as well. But yeah, it's so anyway, it was entirely my fault that I said, I'm going to have to have a rain check on the podcast, because I was absolutely shattered. I hadn't done anything.
To say nothing of your poor, long-suffering wife. I think you're forgiven. I speak on behalf of all reasonable listeners everywhere, and this co-presenter. I think that's entirely reasonable. But it's also reasonable if we quickly explain the formula for those who may not know. If you're a brand new listener, a special welcome, but do please subscribe. But if you're an established and highly loyal listener, we love you too, of course. And if you are in the latter category, permit me to explain some things for people in the former category. It's the comedy Slab, not because we are comedians, as you may or may not have worked out already, but we each week we put a different comedy on the Slab, be it TV, radio or podcast. And we dissect it, see if it wriggles a bit, see if it flinches, see if there's much life left in it. And at the end of the podcast, we give it each a rating out of 5 stars. And then we attempt to top that up. And with a bit of luck, we'll give you a score out of 10. But of course, it is only our opinion. And it's your vote that counts, as Hughie Green used to say on Opportunity Knocks.
Back a bit. Do you know, in the research for this, and all will become clear in a minute, but in the research for this, I got sidetracked down a League of Gentlemen strand. And I was reading about Roy Chubby Brown, because, you know, in the League of Gentlemen, the village is called Royston Vasey in the TV series. Oh, he was actually called Spent in the radio series, the League of Gentlemen on the Town, which is quite interesting. But they decided to change it for TV, and they had Roy Chubby Brown was the mayor, wasn't he? And they were saying, whatever you do, don't swear on live TV, and he swears right at the end of the interview. But I was reading about his career, and they said Roy Chubby Brown failed his audition for Opportunity Knocks because at the interview he said the F word. He didn't even get to do his act. It was just brilliant.
But you do wonder if that's a sort of a deliberate protest vote from him.
I think he was saying that he wanted to take the like building site humour, you know, onto mainstream and onto the stage, because nobody had ever done it, and he broke a number of records. He was the first person ever to say the C word on a stage in this country. You just kind of think, what a legacy.
Yeah, well, that's something to tell the grandchildren. But remind me, because I should say we are slabbing an edition of Inside No. 9. It's called 12 Days of Christine. So it's got 2/3 of the League of Gentlemen in effect. But which of them is the son
there are 4.
of...
So it's actually got half.
Oh, as the writers. Mark Gatiss is missing from an InVision.
And Jeremy Dyson as well, isn't it? Is the other one who never appeared. In very brief cameo roles he appeared in the League of Gentlemen, but he never performed as much as the other 3 did. But yeah, sorry, go on. You were saying.
Well, is it true that one of them is the son of Roy Chubby Brown?
No,
that's just urban myth.
Yeah,
I fell for that one. What a fool.
Yeah,
it's a lovely one though, isn't it?
I think they just, from what I can gather, it was just a list. There were a list of names. You know, what should we call this place? And somebody put Royston Vasey on the list, and it became the best out of all of them. And they went, "Oh, let's do it." And then they approached him and said, "Do you want to cameo in the TV show?" And he did it.
Yeah.
So,
to great effect, depending on your taste. I thought that was a lovely moment. You know it's coming. You know it's coming. That he on live TV. Yeah.
Anyway, right at the end as well, isn't it?
Oh, it's beautifully timed. Just when you think, they're not going to do that.
He says, "Mayor, thank you very much," and he goes, "It's an effing pleasure," or something.
They've got that far.
Oh, awesome.
Anyway, I should add, we've got 3 audio clips, one of which we should hastily get into to explain this show. So they're self-contained stories. Inside No. 9, virtually all they've got in common is the number 9 turns up on a door somewhere, or wherever there is a connection. Something has got something in each edition has got something to do with the number 9. The wonderful Sheridan Smith. This was my pick. If we take it in turns to set the homework and so on for the forthcoming week, or as it turned out, thanks to Annie, get your gun. It was a fortnight. Extra time to do homework, which makes me wonder why I was still doing, the prep at the last minute. You know me, Shane.
The dog
too
ate
well.
it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, there he goes. Anyway, so we've got to get into clip number one. What do I want to say about this show? Well, it's called The 12 Days of Christine. The picture accompanying it, this is on BBC iPlayer, by the way, and as we speak, it's got about 5 months on the BBC's catch-up service, certainly in the UK. I'm sure, I don't know whether you've looked it up, Shane. I'd be on Amazon or one of the Prime or something.
I've put links in, actually, to the iPlayer if you're in the UK, and also the place where you can buy it online. So you can buy it per episode online if you wanted to do that, yeah. You're
very good. It's a good job you're in charge of that and not me, because that would never happen if I was trying to do it. I'm just looking for my notes here as well. So each day, very clever, each mini vignette. So if you think it's a half-hour show divided into 12, each of those 12 is a different month, but actually it's not in the same year. It's going a year plus 1 month, or at least most of the time, that's what it appears to be doing. So I don't think I need to say an awful lot more than that we see a couple of whom one half is the delightful star, Sheridan Smith, as I say, who plays Christine. She's met this man at a New Year's Eve party. It's a fancy dress party. He's dressed as a fireman, and she is dressed as, if I may say so, a rather naughty nun.
Is that a proper fireman's lift?
I don't know, I'm not a proper fireman. Have you got something to drink?
Probably. Ooh. Have a look in the fridge. Oh, don't touch anything with thongs on it.
What?
She's my flatmate. She labels everything.
Thong? What's that? It's Chinese.
Shh, don't say a name. She might appear. Been in bed since 9 o'clock.
Oh, well, they have a different New Year's to us, don't they?
Yeah. She won't be out till February.
Oh, so it is?
Yeah, my dog, apparently.
Oh, I've seen worse.
Ow.
I thought you were, going home with John Lennon, anyway.
It wasn't John Lennon, it was Harry Potter.
Oh? Oh, was it?
Yeah. Well, I think so.
I love that. I think that's such a clever line. I thought he was going home with John Lennon. It wasn't John Lennon, it was Harry Potter. Because
you can picture the glasses, yeah.
Yeah. And do you know, that's what's lovely about the way they do paint lovely pictures and images with the script, don't they? I mean, I think it's probably because the guys come from a radio background. That's where they hone their craft with the League of Gentlemen, as we mentioned. But I have to say as well at this point, and this is a hazy, vague recollection, we're joining this not really knowing that it isn't going to be the comedy that we perhaps thought it would be. And in a way, that kind of helps with it, because we've had this thing, haven't we? You know, when comedians either do pathos or they do, in this particular case, I suppose, what would you call this, psychological thriller sort of kind of thing. But when comedians do it, there's a natural sort of light, deft touch to it. But whether it's actually comedy in the strictest sense of the word, but approaching this, we were coming into this not really knowing, as you say, because they're individual episodes, individual vignettes. You don't really know what you're getting until you're halfway through. Would you say it's fair enough to say?
Yes, well, there is a massive twist which we're not even going to dissect.
Which is their calling card, really, I have to say. Whether they
they trip you up every time, don't they? Yeah.
They do. They go all the way down and they go right to the last corner and then they do a left-hander and you're like, whoa, what happened? I mean, that is they really enjoy doing that, don't they? There's no question about it.
They've got a cruel streak, but they're also playing with us in a nice, playful way at times. This one, though, I have to say, I mean, I did lay the ground if you heard the previous comedy Slab, as I set this homework at the end. This, as you've already touched on, it ain't no ordinary comedy, and it's certainly not a ding-dong, hi, honey, I'm home, family, warm sitcom type. And I think it only just gets under the door, as I was saying last time. It even struggles to get past the draft excluder as a comedy at all. And I'm probably going to get punished. Well, I suspect I'm going to get punished by you, Shane, or you might punish in your marks. I don't know. We'll see when we get there.
You see, to me, this is a difficult one, Adrian, because I mean, we've had this conversation before where the whole premise, we said, is this comedy. But it's a bit like, do you take a song from an album and disregard the album? Or do you say the album is the context? And to me, the series is the context with this. Now, in a way, we're spoiled because we've seen the series and we've seen other episodes, so we're able to say that. But the series is like the album, and this is a track off the album. And so if you buy a Rolling Stones album, you know, you expect to hear some rock on there, but you would forgive them a ballad.
I was just thinking of, shows we're of a certain age, I was thinking of Sgt. Pepper. Sgt. Pepper's, well, it starts as a concept album, and then I think probably John was too busy shooting up or whatever, or being under the influence or not quite focusing, and that kind of gets lost within track 2 or so. But this would be She's Leaving Home. If you know, I know you'll know that song, Shane. We're both superannuated disc jockeys, so that's why we have to refer to pop and rock. Yeah, so this is the downbeat bit. There are gags in it. I've tried to find the gags, but I've probably, to be honest, in the 3 audio clips, I've probably got most of the gags. And even then, you're not falling about, and they're sort of jokes within the plot, in character kind of thing.
Yeah, and they're more clever observations than gags, aren't they, really, I suppose, in that sense as well. I mean, this, as you mentioned, this is going to be one of the hardest ones to review without giving away the twist, but we're going to endeavour to do that, other than to say that there is a twist at the end. But the thing that occurred to me, and it never really registered until I was reading a review by somebody else who's obviously far sharper and shrewder than I am, and has got the same length of time under their belt as well, because they said it was like a modern day Tales of the Unexpected, if you remember that. And I thought, actually, yeah, this is, and I think when they were interviewed, I think they actually mentioned that Tales of the Unexpected was a reference point for what they wanted to do with Inside No.9. In
that they're self-contained stories, and
often we're on the macabre, thriller end of the scale rather than the comedic end of the scale.
Yeah, that was Roald Dahl, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And wasn't
him
every
dancing
show
at the start, wasn't it? Was that him dancing at the start, doing all that business? Was that him? Wasn't.
Just as well, people can't see. We've connected via Skype, but you're not missing much.
That wasn't it?
Well, good for you. You were doing weird stuff. It looked oriental, with the hands. Was that the flames? Wasn't there a bloke sitting by the fireside introducing each show?
She was in silhouette, wasn't she? There was a girl dancing.
See, the gag's wasted on me. I haven't seen it for 40 plus years. Sorry if I don't have the memory for that. Anyway,
no, it's just I stay up doing night feeds, watching old reruns of Tales. I watched an old Rumpole of the Bailey the other night when I was doing a night feed. It's like another world, mate. You should get out there. It's like.
I'm not sure you've made a very strong case for it. Yeah, if I had a daughter that needed bottle feeding, I'd probably make the effort.
Yeah.
But as it was, I'm always going for the sympathy vote, but it won't work with you, certainly at this time. I was up at 10 to 3 this morning. So that's early enough without having to watch nighttime, daytime TV.
10 to 3, that's 20 minutes before bedtime. What's the matter with you? What are you getting up at that time for?
Just for the sheer joy of it, or to make a little crust. Anyway, shall we move on to audio clip number 2 of 3? So, now the clever thing is, and I only really tweaked, it's at one point I was going to, we view shows, if it's a TV show, we tend to view twice. This is now, probably for both of us, we'll have got up to the 3rd viewing because we'd seen it some time ago. I saw it when it first went out, or roughly around that time. But in making my notes for the final viewing, just to get a bit analytical as opposed to just watching it as a show, trying to be like a, quote, normal person, whatever one of those is, a normal viewer. In making the notes, I noticed the obvious, of course, that I've only got to look at the number. I was like, I've bullet pointed them, and the number is the number of the month. So number 7, scene 7, is 7th month of the year, which of course is July. So we're going to fast forward, and I said previously, didn't I? It was New Year's Eve / New Year's Day, so that's 1 January.
Sorry, can I just ask a question? Do you think that would have benefited from making it more obvious on the screen? Because, as you said, it's only when you sit down with the pen and paper and start pulling it apart like this that you notice those kind of subtleties that I think enhance the viewing pleasure. So,
well, I thought they were quite clever to get it into the text. For instance, you're not just moving into the next month when we get to scene 2, which is February, but it's not February of the same year. It's February, as I say, of the following year. That's pointed out, and it doesn't sound clunky to me, by her flatmate Fong, who's just been referred to in the previous audio clip. She's trying to illustrate a mathematical point, isn't she, or something like that? And she's saying, well, like, you've been here a year and 1 month, or we've been together that time. And I thought that was quite well done. I think they want us to work, and I think they want us to review the show. We comedy review it, but watch it more than once.
Because I didn't pick up the precision of that.
It doesn't matter, though. I don't. You say it would enhance your viewing pleasure, but I'm not sure it does. I mean, I got the sense of moving forward, and you know where you are by, Halloween. She's in the witch's costume and so on, so that has to be October. To me, it didn't matter that I hadn't worked out that was actually the 10th scene,
right?
Hence the 10th month. But I knew we were going roughly that way, but.
I kind of got the impression that it was jumping backwards and forwards.
Oh, right, I see.
But not. And that's why I said I didn't get the precision of it, really, in that sense. I got to say, as well, the way that they cut the scenes was just brilliant, wasn't it? Don't you think?
Just effortless, moving from one to another.
Yeah.
I was going to get to that a bit later on, but as you've said it, there is one transition from 1 month to another, which is, as we know, 13 months. It's done in one smooth camera glide. And so, you're on a close up or a single shot on Sheridan Smith, Christine, and that's virtually all that's happened. The camera moves, so you then see the Christmas tree. But we'll come to that a bit later on. Anyway, what I was going to say before, a slight digression, was we're in scene 8, which is, of course, the 8th month, August. And as it turns out, because nothing else happens in August, they've decided to make it Christine's birthday. I've lost my notes, so chat amongst yourself for a moment. So sorry about this.
Sorry, I forgot to chat amongst myself then.
Well, you're doing so, I think. Or were you saying that to me? I'm not quite sure. Was that inner dialogue or outer dialogue?
Did I think that, or was it...
Am I dreaming this? Are you the imagination of myself? As Bill Hicks nearly said. Right, okay, here we go. Quite simply, it is her birthday. We need to know, because, of course, some things are visual, it being TV, and we are seeing this elderly gentleman standing stock still. It's actually a very macabre joke in a way, very Steve Pemberton and Reece... No, don't make me do it. Shearsmith. We won't tell them I made that mistake once off air. Anyway, but he's wearing a fez, like a latter-day Tommy Cooper, just like that. But it turns out he's got Alzheimer's. So do we laugh? Do we cry? Well, anyway, we join at that point where we're seeing the father and welcome to Christine's birthday party like no other.
Oh, he's been so excited all week, haven't you, Ernie? Well, he did know he was coming, but I think it's gone again. I shouldn't have brought him, really.
No, I'm glad he's here.
He wouldn't want you to remember him like this.
Happy birthday, dear. Bet you can't guess what these are.
They didn't have them in my size.
Well, someone rang Ipswich and got them DHL'd.
Oh my God, you shouldn't have. Oh, thank you so much.
2 words, staff discount. Where's Adam?
Don't know, actually. Mum, where's Adam?
I'm not sure. He said he'd be here.
Hi, darling. Happy birthday.
Hi, Zara.
Happy birthday, Chrissy. You look fab.
I don't look thanks anyway.
No, I'm sure you've lost a bit. Yeah, turn round.
And again, they're telling that story, aren't they? In beautifully subtle ways. That that he turns up. That Adam, her boyfriend, turns up with this girl from work, and it's quite obvious from the tension between all parties that there's something going on, or they think there's something going on, and they've just got a lovely way of telling the story. And
Sorry, I should have said by now they have married in a previous
Sorry, they're
month,
married, aren't they,
Yeah,
at that stage? Yeah.
My omission, and indeed, she's had a baby, as you might have worked out from that.
But it's just, like I say, the writing is, as you'd expect from these two, is bang on, isn't it? I mean, it is.
They are master
There isn't a
storytellers,
word wasted or a bit of flab there at all. It's just what you'd expect it to be, but it's just so easy to follow the story just by soaking up the scene, isn't it, really?
It's all there. What about Christine's mother? Did you spot someone from a previous sitcom from our youth?
No, do you know, I kept looking at her and thinking, who is it? Go on.
Mrs. Frank Spencer, Michelle Detrese, no less.
Was that Michelle Detrese?
Michelle Detrese. Lovely to see she's still in work in a notoriously fragile career. 40 years plus on.
That's incredible. I have to say, we were going to call our daughter Betty. That's true.
To go with Frank.
And then I went, hang on, we can't, can we?
Well,
Angelina
why not?
said, why? And I went, Betty and Frank and Betty. You can't. You're going to have Frank and Betty. He'll be spending all his time in a Mac and a Barrow, won't he? So that went out the window.
I could imagine you doing it for a dare, you know. Ross Adair, was it? No.
But maybe I'll tell people she's called Betty until she's old enough to say, oh, Dad, you're so embarrassing.
Yes. Which she might have an accelerated way of doing that, knowing how embarrassing you are.
Do you know, I never even thought to look on the credits, Michelle Detrese. So I'm going to have to go back and have a look now and see.
Because you usually do all the dissection there to continue the slabadacious theme. Well, I'm running to keep up. You've gone to Company's House to work out who the second director with the registered Company's House number.
Tax and file their accounts. Yeah, yeah. I've got to mention in the production credits Adam Tandy, who was the producer. Do you ever work with Adam?
I haven't, not knowingly. Although you might be about to tell me that I have.
No, the only reason I thought, I wonder if you might have done, because this is kind of your era, and I think you'd remember this instantly. And I thought, I bet if I went into the high street and said to people, do you remember this series? They'd go, no idea. Adam was, he's worked on things like The Thick of It and The League of Gentlemen, but he started out, according to the credits, he started out as a floor manager on Colin's Sandwich. Do you remember that?
I did. One episode of Colin's Sandwich, but guess what? It was the day of a strike. I remember Mel Smith sitting in front of me. We were just about to rehearse the first scene, but must have been, we'd rigged the show, so typical sitcom day was 9:30 start in the morning, finish 10:30 at night, long old days.
Yeah.
So it must have been about 10:30 by then, because we'd done all the rigging and cabling and all that. I was a sound engineer. I should fill in the uninitiated, and I think it was like a comedy timing. He just delivered the first line, and everybody out. There's a strike. Sorry, we're out. That's it. They pulled the plugs. It was quite a long and bitter dispute. It's a shame, he was caught in the crosshairs. But
so you would have done your floor manager would have been Adam Tandy.
Did he do all of them then? Or?
Yeah, he worked on the whole series.
Well, in which case, yes, I've worked with him, but only for about 5 minutes.
How weird is that?
Yeah,
I don't know why I had that feeling that Colin's Sandwich would be your era, because what did it run for 2 series, wasn't it? I think something like that. I can't
remember. It didn't go for an amazing amount, I don't think. But the truth is, I must confess, not only have I not worked on one, I don't think I've ever seen one.
Never watched it. Now, I can only remember watching it at the time. I don't think I've seen it after that at all. But yeah, no, I just thought I picked out that little tidbit, and I thought, I must mention that.
Fascinating,
yeah, I thought you might have done. And the executive producer, of course, is the legend that is John Plowman, who's worked on near enough everything, hasn't he? When it comes to comedy, as well as Gimme, Gimme, Gimme. So no,
were you being cruel there?
That's my guilty pleasure. That is, Gimme, Gimme, Gimme with Kathy Burke.
Yeah. I nearly said Pauline Quirk. That rhymes, but one shouldn't confuse the two. I should just add, while we're on this, it's a BBC comedy production. But and that makes me think that it was the final frame so with the logo BBC Comedy Production and Adam and John's names on, that I thought, that word comedy is there. Again, it just gets in under the door of comedy. Just by whiskey.
I think I'm like to say the whole product is the going back to the music analogy. The whole product is the album, isn't it? And I think, in a way, in this particular case, and it might be because I'm just biased because I like it and I like their work and whatever they do seems to appeal to me. But in a way, it seems unfair to judge in isolation this one and say, well, it's not comedy, so strictly speaking, off with its head or whatever. So
yeah,
I might be being unduly biased, but that's what a personal opinion is, isn't it? I can only have my opinion.
Exactly. Well, I'm glad you're biased in the same direction as me, which doesn't often happen, or doesn't certainly always happen. So we've both got away with it, in other words. It must be time for clip 3, the final clip. Are you ready for that, sir?
Yeah, go on then. Where are we now?
Well, we started out in scene 1 of 12, and I thought I was nearly going to go for Halloween because that had a few jokes in. I mean, by the way, Steve Pemberton as gay colleague Bobby, absolutely marvellous and so different. And again, it's the versatility of a good actor like that. So different to other roles he's played in virtually any other of these episodes.
Do you know what I love as well is the fact that Reece Shearsmith has a very minor role.
Yes,
they don't care. They're not interested, are they?
It's not all about egos and
exactly. It's not about them. It's about the program, and it's about the casting the best program. They're not casting themselves. Oh, I think I'll have this role because it's the meatiest, or I'll have the most exposure on screen. It's about what makes it the best program, I think, and that shines through for me.
I would question whether he's got a minor role, actually, Reece Shearsmith. Because,
I only mean in terms of...
Yeah, I know, screen time.
Yeah, screen time. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's pivotal, isn't it, in terms of the story.
Shh, stop. He's giving
the plot away. It away. Blimey, if you can get that, I mean...
you deserve to crack the code, I think.
Get yourself a job in your local constabulary wherever you are, because you're a genius detective.
You can solve loads of unsolved cases. Anyway, so we are in scene 12 of 12, so it has to be December. It is a Christmas... I think it is Christmas Day itself. Anyway, we are at a Christmas party, and Betty Spencer, Michelle Detrice as... what's her name against Marion? Mum of Christine, in other words, is about to put some lovely festive headgear on her daughter.
Get everything jumbled up.
Well, put your hat on then.
What?
Put your hat on. Oh, that's better.
Right. Why are Christmas trees so bad at sewing?
Oh.
They always drop their needles.
Terrible.
Well, you never did have a sense of humour, did you, Ernie?
Oh, I don't know. I married you, didn't I?
Dad, are you all right?
Yeah, I'm tickety-boo. I had to be here for this, didn't I? Wouldn't have missed it for the world.
You all right, love? Well done on all this. It looks gorgeous. Just like you.
Well, I did the Brussels sprouts.
Yes, and we'll be hearing from them later.
Where's Jack?
He's just getting his outfit on for the nativity.
Oh, bless him.
Adam, are we back together?
Big shout out for Paul Copley, who plays the dad as well, who I think is a fabulous actor. He always reminds me a bit of. Do you know a guy called Bernard? Is it Bernard Wigley or Bernard Wrigley? I can never remember his name. Which he's a northern guy with a moustache. He always plays very dry characters, very sarcastic characters as well. But Paul Copley, I don't know if have you ever heard Tom Wrigglesworth's radio series?
Is he the dad in that?
He's Tom's dad in that, yeah.
Right. Well, if you're doing big shouts of the male members of the cast we haven't mentioned, Tom Riley as Adam must have a mention.
Where would I know Tom Riley from?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just clicking on his name. Not that you'd notice. Bit of a hunk, Born 1981, the rotter.
Because I kept looking at him and thinking, and do you know as well, I'm bending my ears into the headphones trying to listen to Michelle Detrice's voice to see if I could pick out any semblance of recognition, but
of Betty.
Failed miserably. Frank failed miserably. But yeah, and in the same way, I kept looking at the guy, the boyfriend, the husband, and thinking, Tom Wright, where do I know him from? I'm not really quite.
I'm just scrolling down. He's done a little bit of Doctor Who. He's done. Yeah, I don't know him from any of these necessarily. A Bouquet of Barbed Wire. 2012 played Christian Jeb. Modern Life is Rubbish. He plays Adrian. That's the Dave thing, isn't it, with Dave Gorman? Is that right? No, that's Modern Life is Goodish. Oh, yeah. I got that wrong. Modern Life is Rubbish was a Blur album, wasn't it? But it's obviously taken its title from that. Anyway, well, he deserves to do more. That's all I can say. Or be a male model, or both.
I thought they were a great cast, though, weren't they? They were very
fantastic.
They were very balanced. There was nobody. I'm not one of the one of these people. I was going to say you keep getting Reese Witherspoon. I nearly said I'm not one of those people who's subscribes to the Sheridan Morley fan club.
See, it's 1-1 now. Oh dear.
You know the Sheridan Smith. She's a national treasure. It's a bit like the Olivia Colman effect, is what I call it. It's like I used to really like Olivia Colman as an actress and think she was great
until she became a national treasure.
And then everybody just like overdoes it. It's just like, oh, come on. And like at the point that they're all going, oh, she's a national treasure, I'm thinking, bloody hell, she's on everything.
Yeah.
And you
know
what
but
I mean?
The two are connected. You don't get to be national treasure if you're not on anything.
No.
But I know what you mean. I mean, Fleabag is going down the same route, isn't it, with the wonderful Phoebe Waller-Bridge. And the trouble with that is that they can't quite keep up with their own myth eventually.
Exactly.
Although she is hugely
you feel
talented.
like you're living in a world of superlatives, don't you, where you kind of think, no, it's just, they're good, they're okay. Let's not go mental about it. You know, it's... I don't know, and it kind of ruins it a bit for me. And Sheridan Smith, who interestingly enough, there was a story about. Did you see this week? She had a bit of a meltdown on
Twitter. Yes, I read about that, and then she seemed to recover. Yes,
I'm not sure you can recover from calling your mother-in-law the person who murdered your dog. I don't know whether that's.
I don't know. It made me think of Jeremy Thorpe, but let's not go there. What can you say? Look, the thing is. If she was Josephine Blogs and she had 12 followers and she had a meltdown, we wouldn't be talking about it. It wouldn't make the Daily Mirror or whatever it did.
No.
But anyway, I have to say, I mean,
notwithstanding what you scale, isn't it? Ask Danny Baker. But go on, yes.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where could we go with that? I do want to say, though, I will sound like I am getting towards the fan mania with Sheridan Smith. I will say, I mean, hats off. Where there's talent, we've got to say it on the Comedy Slab. She has such emotional range, and what she can do with just one look is cue for a song. Just one look is just amazing. I know that is the craft of acting, but boy, has she got that craft in spades. She's just got so much in reserve. So I better not carry on talking, otherwise you'll accuse me of being one of the multitude.
I think that's the balance, treasure. Isn't it? And I think you saying that, and I kind of think, I kind of agree with that. But then this, she's a national treasure and all this bit, and you think, what? Just calm yourself. And the other thing is as well is based on how many awards they win. Which I'll be honest with you, I have never ever watched a program or a movie based on how many Academy Awards or BAFTAs it's won. It means nothing to me. It's like they might as well win Double Glazing Salesman of the Year, because I don't care what some idiots in Hollywood think about, or Basingstoke or wherever the panel happens to be. That's their subjective view, and they're entitled to it. But that doesn't make. It's like people listening to this, isn't it? They're not going to go, well, if Shane and Adrian don't like it, I'm never going to watch Inside No.9 again. It's like, it's ridiculous, isn't it, to say that in a way? But
yeah, although I do try and take the complete opposite view to you as a matter of principle.
Yeah, that's what makes the world go round. There's a lot of people like that.
Yeah, it might make the world fall apart. Anyway, what are we going to do? I think we get to the stars out of 5 section of the show, do we not?
Okay. Do I get an extra point for recognising that the car was a Vauxhall Astra, by the way? Because I had one and I recognised the dash immediately.
If you must, but it immediately gets deducted because you've been smug about it and had to draw attention to it. So the net effect is you've acquired nothing and you just look silly. But, you know...
Hoist by my own petard.
Absolutely. Put your petard away and put your leotard back on.
It's like being back at school. O'Connor, put your petard away.
That's not petard, that's Peter D, my mate. Anyway, I think we can never decide who's going first, and I have that dilemma now. I feel more in control as I chose the show, and I'm inclined to put you forward to give your mark. I'm not going to change mine. I have agonised over mine.
You do. You agonise, right?
I agonise
until you say the number, and it is obvious because you always do that, and I don't have that problem. I kind of think I've made that decision. No, I'm fine with that. I'm happy with that. And oh, hang on a second, shall I change it? I don't know. But so, do you want me to tell you my number?
Do you want me to guess it first?
You can if you want to.
4.5.
Oh,
you have to be honest. It's not that, is it?
Or should I say,
get you?
The only reason I do that, if you're listening to the podcast, by the way, is what you never, ever hear on this podcast is Adrian and I spend about 10 minutes going at each other.
But now you've heard it. Our dark secret revealed.
Yeah. No, you were close, but you don't get a cigar.
Well, it's got to be 4 then.
It is a 4. It's a good, sturdy, solid, put your tabletop on it, nice 4 legs, 1 at each corner. It's a 4 for me.
No messing. Yeah. And sorry, carry on.
No, I was just going to say, and because taking into account the things that we talked about, that, you know, contextually, okay, it's not a comedy, but it's written by 2 people who have unquestionable comedy chops, and I like to see them wander off the path that they're normally on, and I think they really enjoy it. They're really good at it, and it's really entertaining to watch. So yeah, I'll give it a 4.
Yeah, which is exactly, you took the word out of my mouth. I agonised because if we were rating it, if this was the drama slab, not the comedy slab, it would get unquestionably a 5 from me.
Yeah,
because that's what it is. It's a drama with a few laughs in there, but more chills, thrills, and spills than laughs. And so I've just had to dock it really regretfully, but because it's not a full-blooded going for deep belly laughs comedy, it can't succeed 5 stars out of 5 as a comedy. But boy, does it succeed as a drama. Should add also, the Beeb is saying it's parental guidance or whatever they call it, so I wouldn't advise it for anyone under 16, anyone who's feeling delicate, and that would include me, so I shouldn't have watched it. Anyone who's been through a breakup, had disappointments, etc., etc. Anyway, but
doesn't like Christmas trees.
Yeah, any resistance to Christmas trees
or tinsel
or other festivals. Yeah, fireworks. But against all of that, ignore all of my previous advice. If you think you're strong enough or old enough or odd enough, by golly, you should see this. It's unmissable drama.
It was interesting. Comedy.co.uk, that wonderful website that I go and have a look on from time to time, described it, I think, in their spiel about the episode. They said this episode is not a comedy, but a psychological drama. And I think that sums it up, doesn't it, really?
Yeah,
quite nicely.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I don't mind confessing. I'm no great crier. I used to live out in the country, and then I moved to a more urban setting, so I'm a town crier. If I cried, town cry. Oh, that didn't really work at all. But I did actually cry a couple of times, very briefly, just slightly moist eyes. But I also laughed. I mean, what an amazing gift for them to have as master storytellers to turn laughter to tears, back to laughter, or vice versa, whichever way it happened. To do that within a half-hour show, that is the measure of their talent. Just
talent. That's the word, isn't it? Talent. Yeah,
absolutely.
So you're giving it a 4 then. So it's an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
For Inside number 9, The 12 Days of Christine, with Steve Pemberton and Reece Shearsmith, and written by the lads as well.
Can I just throw in? I should have said it's Series 2, Episode 2. If you're struggling to find it on BBC iPlayer.
And all the links are there below where you found this podcast to tell you where it's available and where you can buy it from as well. Before we mention next week's homework, can I just give a quick mention to Freddy Starr, who we lost. Sadly, 76, which of course this day and age is no age at all, is it? And I put it on my own personal Twitter feed, but I put it on the Comedy Slab one. I don't know if you saw it.
I did. You actually get marks deducted for using the personal pronoun, saying I, when you're tweeting on a shared Comedy Slab. It was all about you today, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I did put my Twitter handle, so you knew it was me writing it, you see.
Okay. Yeah, for a moment I thought it might have been me.
I just thought it was that personal touch, you know. Were you in the photo?
I don't think I was.
Well, that's the giveaway then, isn't it? What's the matter with you?
Well, no, I think we've got to discuss this after the podcast. There will be severe reprimands.
Repercussions.
Also, yeah, for me, he's a complicated character. I don't want to ruin the eulogy, but yes, it's complicated, as they say on Facebook or dating websites.
I must admit, I spent the afternoon with him because he came in to do an interview. He came in to see me. He said he was living locally at the time, actually, from where I was working. And he said, "Yeah, I'll come over." Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. He was a complicated character, and I got to say though, he was very, very entertaining, very funny, and a very likable guy. I mean, you know, sometimes when you meet people, I need to mention a name then of somebody that I met who was a complete opposite, and he tries to come across when they're on as a Mr. Nice Guy, and then nothing could be further from the truth when they're in when they're in down mode or off mode. And Freddy, I have to say, I thought he was what the kids would say. He was very real. What you saw was what you got. And I'm fully aware his comedy wasn't to everybody's taste, but I'm not a revisionist. I'm not one of these people who wants to rewrite history. I like him. Woke up one day and all of a sudden you couldn't go to a fancy dress party in a German uniform when you've been doing that for years, and it was okay. And I still think it's okay, actually, because I think if you start saying to people, you can't make fun of this, or you can't do this in comedy, I think that's totalitarianism to me. But that's another story for another day. But people saying, "Oh, he was a dinosaur" and whatever. He was of his time. I remember. All I can tell you is I remember as a kid watching him on the TV, and he was Saturday night entertainment, wasn't he, for a period of time? And I think that was a hell of achievement. But ultimately, I found him to be a very nice guy, and I really enjoyed his company. Yeah,
I don't feel I can airbrush the fact he lost a libel case against someone who accused him of sexually assaulting her, and that was tied in with the Jimmy Savile show. So it's not merely, I work with Jimmy Savile, so it's not that everyone associated with him is bad. It's just the judge went for the accuser's version rather than his.
Although having said that, there's a lower burden of proof in a civil case like that, isn't it, than there is in a criminal case? So it's a different thing entirely. And I think if there had been a criminal prosecution brought, that would have been a different story. Personally, but
okay, yeah, but the way that's your view, I don't think it would have been, but that's my view. But I was in his company for all of about 30 seconds. I've got some very short anecdotes, but that's how it is when you were working at TV Centre, because when it was busy, you could walk from one show to another, 8 studios, 8 different shows on the busiest days. But sadly, there weren't too many of those towards the end. But I don't think I was even working on, it was Noel's house party, and I think I'd just come in to see a colleague and do whatever, arrange to meet for a meal afterwards or whatever, because incredibly, people in showbiz, the technicians, as much as anyone else, do have lives outside, and they do meet up for a drink afterwards and things like that ordinary folk do. So I consider myself an ordinary member of the public, really, ultimately. But he just happened to be on that show, and he happened to be coming in as I was leaving, I think it was Studio One. Yeah, it was Studio One, the big studio. And he just smiled at me. So, I mean, that plays to your version of him, your experience of him, which is... he didn't know me from Adam, and he could have sneered, or he could have said, "Who are you?" or could have ignored me. But
that doesn't come easy to a lot of people, does it? Being able to, I remember working at Pebble Mill for a number of years, and that always struck me about Pebble Mill as a BBC location. Is you'd walk down the corridor, and a lot of people would do their best to avoid eye contact, and those who managed to not be able to do that, I would always smile. That's my natural default. I go, oh, hi, hello, or whatever, as I walk past. And I've never met such an unfriendly place. I've never worked in such an unfriendly place as Pebble Mill. Weird. Really? Strange. Yeah. Probably it was the mask I was wearing. I don't know. Who knows?
It could be. And it wasn't even Halloween.
Exactly.
So you're going to set our homework for the next week.
I am. I thought I'd choose something new and fresh and on the TV at the moment from a fresh team as well, a youngish team, I suppose, really. Let me put you out of misery. It's called, and you might have seen the trails for it, Ghosts.
That's spooky, if you'll pardon the pun, because I was thinking of setting that for a future week. So that's bang on the money, because someone recommended it to me the other night, and I started to watch episode 1, series 1. Is that the one you're going to go for, or are you going for...
I thought so, because we don't know anything about it. It's brand new.
Well, I know something about the first 4 minutes. Speak for yourself, mate. I've started it, at least.
There's no chance that either of us are going to go, oh, yes, we know all about this and we know all the characters and all the rest of it. I thought, episode 1 from series 1. I think episode 4 or 5 is currently airing. Is it round about now? Mm-hmm. Although if you're listening to this later, then it was round about then.
Then and now.
Just to be precise, it comes from the team who were the acting ensemble for Horrible Histories, which kind of it was a kids program. If you never caught up with this, Horrible Histories, but
it's not a kids show. It's an adult show that has a bearable, passable excuse for grown-ups to sit down with their children, but they're really watching it for themselves.
Well, it came out of the Terry Deary books, didn't it? And they hit on this ensemble cast, which Matthew Bainton is one of them, isn't he?
Your mate.
Who's been in Quacks that we reviewed. And it was one of those where the ensemble cast just kind of... They just hit the sweet spot with it, really, and the writing was so good. It's a bit like the Daffy Duck and the Bugs Bunny cartoons, isn't it? Where they work on one level for kids and another level for adults, and you can switch between the two levels depending on how you're feeling. So I thought, well, that'd be a nice one. I think the basic premise is this couple buy this big old place, and they're going to turn it into a hotel, and it's haunted. And we're in the fortunate position that we can see the ghosts. So I thought, let's do that.
Like it. Yeah, and that's another BBC iPlayer special, is it not?
It is. It's on, as I say, it's screening right now. It's at a cinema near you from Friday. Or whatever day it goes.
And what do you need to watch out for if you put your handbag on the floor in a cinema?
I don't know.
If you're going to do that voice, there are thieves. And
there are thieves.
We've got to do the long S because you see a serpent. People of a certain age. I'm sure it's on the YouTube. Anyway, that's enough from Bill Mitchell. I'm going to mention social media very quickly. It's the obvious. We are at Comedy Slab on Twitter. Do join us for not merely self-promotion or Shane trying to pass himself off as me or trying to give a view for both of us, cheeky monkey. See me later. But we also we retweet other stuff.
Again, read the small print.
Read the contract. You failed to control me. I'm technically a guest on your show. Anyway, Alan Partridge and others get mentions, and we try and tweet things we think you'll be interested in. So don't let us sit there doing it just for ourselves, or Shane doing it just for himself. Do follow us at Comedy Slab, and likewise, of course, on Facebook, it's at Comedy Slab also.
And don't forget, if you've enjoyed this, and we hope you have, subscribe, and then you make sure you never miss an episode of the Comedy Slab. We're on Spreaker predominantly for audio, although you can pick us up on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all the other places. And you can also catch us on YouTube as well. Simply put in Comedy Slab, and you should find us in those locations as well. But if you can subscribe, it just helps smooth and oil the cogs.
And boy, do we both need our cogs oiling and smoothing.
Oh, mine needs smoothing there. I've got the roughest cogs in the business.
That's not a euphemism. So he has been Bill Mitchell, the very gravelly-throated voiceover. And we do love recommendations. If you'd recommend, recommend us to others. Recommend the Comedy Slab to friends and family alike. And give us your opinions on both our shows. We'd love a generous star rating on whatever it's called this week, Apple Podcasts or iTunes, whatever it is. But also, we'd be interested to know what you make of shows such as we've just slabbed. I can't decide now whether to dress up as a fireman or a slightly dirty nun. I'll leave you with that slightly suspect image.
Do you mean a naughty nun?
No, I just mean one that hasn't had a shower for at least 24 hours.
And I've got no doubts about what's in store for me over the next week. It's nappies, milk and nappies. And I think the baby will have the same as well.
But hey!
So until next time, be careful and don't have nightmares.